Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live, powered by Radio. The third place playoff of the Women's T20I match in the 2022 Commonwealth Games will be played today between England and New Zealand. The match will be played at Edgbaston in Birmingham and it will start at 2:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and all the fans can catch the live action on Sony Live app and Sony Sports Network. Now, before we start previewing the match between England and New Zealand, we all know that these two teams played the semi-finals yesterday. England played against India and New Zealand played against Australia. While England lost to India by just 4 runs, New Zealand, on the other hand, suffered defeats at the hands of Australia in the second semi-final by 5 wickets. Now, the losers of the semi-finals are going to play the third place playoff match, and the winner of this third place playoff match is going to win a bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games. And now, to preview this match between England and New Zealand, I have with me Neha Shetty, who is an avid cricket follower and a cricket podcaster. So, welcome you, Neha, to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you so much, and absolutely looking forward to the conversation ahead.
Absolutely great. So, if we see England team, they played in the first semi-final against India yesterday. It was a cracker of a contest. England almost managed to chase down 164 runs that was set by India, but they fell short of just 4 runs in the end. So, what are your first thoughts on England's performance in the first semi-final?
It was, an absolutely fascinating contest, right? A win against England after that heartbreaking 2017 World Cup loss is always sweet. Now, winning the toss and batting first to make that 164 was no mean feat, right? We had Smriti Mandana and Jemima Rodriguez who really stepped up when we needed them the most. They were brilliant. They negotiated the mighty England attack, and even the late exploits from Deepthi Sharma really helped us, put that good score up. And we were playing against England, right? We were undaunted by the opposition's might, and we were undeterred by our own history of, faltering under pressure. And we really rose to the occasion in front of a packed England crowd. This was a tight contest, right? Because the winner would make it to the gold medal match. And defeating them on their home ground in this knockout match will always be special, right? This is a win we are definitely going to savor. It was a complete team effort. The fielding was top notch. This was one of the concerns we did raise in that preview match. The fielding might be a little bit of a concern. And I think India would be riding in with so much confidence, right? Like going into the match versus Australia, this is again another heavyweight you're playing against. And a win against England is definitely, it's just the best, right? Go that confidence is very nice. And the discourse everywhere was that, England is going to easily walk all over India and it's going to be quite difficult that way. But I think under Harmanpreet Kaur, India is just this whole different unit and that doesn't back down from a fight. So all in all, it was a great match, and I think India can be really proud of that win.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think England did give a tough fight to Indians. And as you pointed out, Neha, that England almost chased down the target only 4 runs. They fell shy in the end. And of course, the crowd, which we often refer to as the 12th man, it was completely in England's side. But then India, led by the dynamic and dashing Harmanpreet Kaur, was there, rose to the occasion, and handed a defeat to the host team, England. All right. So, if you can tell us more about England, how are they going to take on New Zealand? Because they had a close contest against India. Maybe they are wounded lioness, if we can say that. So, do you think they are
Yeah.
going to pounce harder on New Zealand tonight?
Absolutely, because this loss would have certainly hurt them a lot. And going into this match versus New Zealand, I think they would be looking to, get their bases right and not be like the overconfident unit that they were, because they were coming off of 3 wins and they had that good series win before the Commonwealth Games as well. So I think they would be looking to, they would be wounded in all sense, their pride. So I think that would be something that we can watch out for today. But even I wanted to ask you, right? Like on the same line of thought, we had an exciting semi-final where we had New Zealand and Australia take on each other. So what do you think, went wrong for New Zealand in that semi-final?
So I felt that it was a good semi-final. I did not expect that semi-final to go till the very last over. New Zealand did put up a good score in front of the mighty Australians. They put up 144 for 7 in 20 overs. Again, captain Sophie Devine rising to the occasion, scoring a brilliant half century. I think in the first match against South Africa, she had a score of 48 odd, if I'm not wrong, and that crucial partnership with Susie Bates. But after that, Sophie Devine was blowing hot and cold for New Zealand. But then it was great to see captain leading from the front, scoring that wonderful half century when it mattered the most. And then again, Amelia Kerr doing what she has always been doing for New Zealand, coming in at number 4, scoring 40 useful runs. But I think though these two players in Devine and Kerr, they scored useful runs for the New Zealand team. If you look at the strike rate, it was a concern for them. I think Sophie Devine had a strike rate of 110, Amelia Kerr had a strike rate of 111. And when you're playing against Australians, you can't expect to have such a low or a modest strike rate. You have to strike at least at 140 or 150 if you want to impose yourself on the on the Australians. So probably that could be something, one of the takeaways for the New Zealand team when they take on England today, that though they are scoring runs, but it has to come at a quicker pace. And probably another thing that I was surprised to see was the inclusion of Georgia Plymouth. I'm not quite sure whether that was predetermined or they just wanted to have another batter in their ranks. I think they replaced Eden Carson, who is a off spinner, with Georgia Plymouth. But again, Georgia Plymouth, just 17 or 18 years of age, playing her debut match in a semi-final. So I think that was too much to ask from a teenager. But let us hope that if she gets a chance today, she's able to perform, and maybe what Elise Capsey has been doing for England, maybe White Ferns can expect something from Georgia Plymouth against England today. And apart from the batting, I feel Leah Tahuhu, as usual, she was very good. I think I remember, Neha, you talking about Leah Tahuhu, and she could be the leading wicket taker, I think, in one of the predictions you said. And she picked up 3 for 20 in a 4 over. So it was exceptional to see. Though we saw in the match earlier between India and England, the fast bowlers were not getting so much out of the pitch. But then Leah Tahuhu, she was quick. She was swinging the ball both ways. She was giving a tough time to the Australian batters. I think in one of the overs, when she got out Talia Megra, she also bowled that as a maiden over. So that was very nice to see. But apart from this, I feel what could be the learnings is, one is going to be the strike rate, and second, how the New Zealanders are going to be able to keep the England batters quiet, because though Elise Capsey did not score much in the last match, she was unfortunately run out. I'm sure she'll be raring to go, and it could be probably a tough task for the New Zealanders to keep the England batters quiet today. Now moving on to you, Neha. England in the last match against India, Nat Siver was there up at the front, but Sophia Dunkley is again not scoring runs, that many runs for them as we are expecting. But then Danny Wyatt was impressive. So how good, how happy were you to see Wyatt scoring those useful runs for England?
I think it was really good to see her back among the runs, because we did talk about in that preview match to preview section that she is this impact player, and the partnership that she stitched with Sophia Dunkley right at the top was just amazing, because I really felt like she would take the match away. I think a lot of Indian fans would have just switched off the television seeing the run rate at which these two were going in. But I think hitting those six boundaries would have given her a lot of confidence. She was looking well balanced, and it did remind us of some of her classic knocks as well. But again, if you observe, the way she got dismissed was again by a spinner, right? And this is a glaring weakness in her game. And getting dismissed by a spinner does raise questions of her technical prowess. But I'm sure that in spite of that, the run she scored will give her confidence going ahead. But even otherwise, right, if you focus on England's batting that day, they did lose 6 wickets, three of which were through runouts. If you had to look at that, I think lack of communication was one of the things, because Nat Silver was there when two of those runouts happened, and she herself got run out, which was quite unfortunate. I think the pressure was certainly building on them, right? Because India came in first, they batted, made that massive total. And it was really kind of like a shocker for them. Maybe they didn't see it coming that, India would come in, make 164. And Nat Silver was at the other end. The pressure of the dots could have, propelled the other batters to take that run to, have the run chase ticking faster. And rotating strike is something they would look to work on. But besides that, I think England's batting does look strong, but they need to come together as a unit if they really want to put a challenge across to New Zealand if they are batting first. But on the same line of thought, I'd also like to ask you, like, you did talk about New Zealand and how they did have that tough outing versus Australia. Do you think New Zealand is going to make any changes in their playing 11 in the match against, going ahead?
I don't think so. They would make any changes, because I think Georgia Plymouth could be the only change that I can think of. But again, if they want to go batting heavy, Georgia Plymouth is going to be there playing at number three. And given the fact that Amelia Kerr, she came in at four and scored 40 useful runs. And we know that Amelia Kerr is used to playing at four when Amy Satterthwaite used to play at three. So given that combination, I don't think New Zealand will make the change. Maybe Haley Jensen is also doing fine, so I don't think she could be replaced by, say, somebody like a Rosemary Meyer. So I feel an unchanged playing 11 is what I'm hoping from the New Zealand team. But on the bowling front, what I would like to see from New Zealand is, if you look at the England lineup, whom they are going to take on in the third place playoff, they're filled with all the right-handed batters. They have only Freya Kemp, who comes in at probably number 10 or 11, who's a left-hander. And now the New Zealand bowling attack, they have the likes of Amelia Kerr and Fran Jonas, who take the ball away from them. So maybe from the bowling perspective, I would like to see these two players, Kerr and Jonas, giving those breakthroughs to New Zealand. And also, if we remember the last match that the two teams played, which was during the league stage, which was the last match of the league stage, the 3 wickets that England succumbed to from New Zealand side, they were picked up by Amelia Kerr and Fran Jonas. So maybe something like more of spin right at the start, as we have been seeing from New Zealand, that opening the bowling with Fran Jonas, and maybe instead of Haley Jensen, if we can have Leah Tahuhu, and have both the attacking bowlers going on. So let us see if New Zealand plans to do something like that. But overall, I don't see any changes in the playing 11 from New Zealand perspective. Neha, do you reckon any changes from England side?
I mean, even though they are, coming off a loss against India, I really don't think they're going to implement a change, because this is perhaps their best playing 11. They look solid, but they just need to come together as a unit. But the loss against India would definitely be playing on their minds. And today, though, definitely versus New Zealand, they would leave no stone unturned in trying to, get the best out of them. But that also kind of brings this point, right? Now, the loss that in the last league stage match that New Zealand had versus England. Do you think that will be playing in the minds of the White Ferns? Like, do you think they've learned their lessons from that match? And can we see anything different in White Ferns' approach today?
Probably, I think so. This match is going to be like a do or die again, if we can say that. And I think the White Ferns, they'll be raring to go, because if we see the two semifinals, we had hoped that England would get the better of India, but that didn't happen. But given the Australia New Zealand match, we knew that Australia are going to win. So I don't think New Zealand will be under that pressure. And of course, they will have that last match in their mind, and probably they could have learned some things from the game, because I think they got to just 71 odd runs, lost 9 wickets in 20 overs. So that was a complete batting collapse from the New Zealand team, and I don't think that could happen. And now, also looking at the numbers, if we see Susie Bates in the first match, she scored 91, but after that, she has been kept quiet. Also, unfortunately, she got a duck in the last match against Australia. So I'm sure that she'll be raring to go, and she would want to stamp her authority in the last match of the Commonwealth Games. And talking more about what could New Zealand be doing, so I feel that the top four now in Georgia Plummer, Amelia Kerr, and the two openers and Smash Sisters, they have to score bulk of the runs, because we all know that the middle order is not weak. It was nice to see Leah Tahuhu coming in at number 5, and I remember we were talking whether New Zealand should try promoting her. So I can see maybe Tahuhu will play at number 5. I think in the match against England, she came lower down the order. So maybe just get her in at 5 and give her as many more balls to face. And maybe she can play a cameo like what Catherine Brunt did for England the other day, scoring 20 of 8, something like that. So probably these could be some of the lessons that New Zealand would have learned from the England match. And let us see if they implement them, because we are both, and of course all the fans who are watching this show, they want to see an exciting contest, though it is a bronze medal match. But at the end of the day, it is a medal match, and I'm sure both these teams will want to get their hands at the bronze medal in the Commonwealth Games. Now we are just few minutes away, Neha, from the match. So any key matches that you're looking at from the England New Zealand game?
Right. So considering, these teams did square off in the league stage matches too, I was pretty excited at them, going heads on. But I think Sophie Devine versus Catherine Brunt is going to be a fascinating contest, right? Because we know if Sophie Devine gets going, there's no stopping her. And you know how Catherine Brunt gets all riled up when batters kind of go after her and she gets very aggressive. So that is one matchup I'm definitely watching out for, because Sophie Devine is one player I would never write off from the game, right? She will come back strong. And Catherine Brunt is an absolute superstar, like age is just a number for her, and she just keeps getting those crucial breakthroughs. So this is one matchup I'm definitely watching out for. And I think even Nat Silver versus Amelia Kerr. Now, these are premium all-rounders for their respective countries. So, them going against each other is what I definitely want to watch out for. Amelia Kerr bowling to Nat Silver, or, vice versa. So that is one matchup I'm definitely watching out for. But are you watching out for any key matchups?
Absolutely. I think Sophie Eccleston versus somebody like a Susie Bates. if Susie Betts plays through the power play, and I would like to see how Susie Betts takes on Sophie Eccleston, because in the last match that India played against England, India's approach was to attack Sophie Eccleston. Very first ball that Eccleston bowled, Smriti Mandana hit her for a boundary. So I want to see something like that, some that approach, attacking approach from the New Zealand, and just not get bogged down that Sophie Eccleston, the world number one T20I bowler, is bowling at them. So I want the White Ferns to be aggressive and attacker. So probably that could be one of the matchups, and the other could be Leah Tahuhu versus Danny Wyatt. Danny Wyatt has been impressive in the last match. We all know that she likes pace on the ball, and Leah Tahuhu will be fired up. So probably that could be another matchup that I'm looking at. All right, so maybe if we can have some predictions from you, Neha, what do you think the team that you think is going to win today, and the top scorer for the match and top wicket taker?
Right. So predictions till now have always been my favorite segment, and England has been one of the strongest contenders to win this Commonwealth Games besides Australia. But that semi-final loss against India will be on their minds, and they will be looking to make a strong comeback in this game, no doubt. And they have beaten New Zealand previously too in that last group stage match, and I think they will go in with some advantage. So my predictions on who is likely to win, I think England does have the edge, and they are likely to win this because they would want to let the horrors of the semi-final just wear off and win this bronze medal, salvage their pride. I think for most runs, I would go with Sophie Devine because she's one player, as I spoke about. I would never write her off, scoring those big runs. And I think most wickets, Catherine Brunt, considering the form that she has been in, I think she is definitely going to be amongst the wickets. And seeing her bowl with a new ball is just, going to be a very interesting affair. And what are your predictions? What do you think?
Absolutely. So I think I second you on this Catherine Brunt thing. Even I feel that she is going to come out as the leading wicket taker of this match. And probably for the batter, I'm looking at Danny White again because I was very happy to see her. And again, if you were talking about Danny White's wicket the other day, she fell to Sneh Rana. We all know that she loves to lap sweep that. But again, in the second consecutive ball, though she had got a boundary of the earlier ball, she again tried to play the same shot. But then Sneh Rana, we know that she's a street smart cricketer and she got the better of Danny White. But I'm hoping Danny White to score big for England today and take that bronze medal home. And the team, of course, it is, I think, going to be England who are going to have the better of White Ferns today. All right, so if we can start taking some questions, we are getting a few from our fans. All right, so James Taylor is asking us, it was suicidal from England's Alice Capsey, Danny Wyatt in the previous game. I won't give credits to the Indian bowlers. Do you see England correcting those mistakes? Neha, would you like to answer this?
I mean, sure, yeah. Suicidal is too strong a word, but then I think losing Alice Capsey and Danny Wyatt early on, even though they were kind of well set, was kind of tricky for England, right? Because they are, how much ever we denied, they are missing Heather Knight. So these two are like the next most important players after, say, a Nat Silver or Nat Silver. So I think it was difficult for them, but I think you need to give credit to the Indian bowlers, right? Because people had literally written them off. Like, England is definitely going to win. Indian bowlers won't come up that strong. But they did come up so strong and actually put up such a commendable performance, right? This is versus an England team. And do you see England correcting those mistakes? I think yes, because this is a bronze medal match. This is happening in their home conditions. So they would definitely want to rectify those mistakes, come back as a stronger unit. And I think today is the day, because it's a bronze medal match versus the White Ferns, whom they've already handed a defeat in the league stages matches. So I think they are coming in with that confidence, and we can see an interesting contest.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks for your answer. And just to add to what Neha you said, I remember in the previous conversations when we were previewing India England, I think I had asked one of our panelists whether Alice Capsey will be able to handle that pressure of semi-final, and the kind of run out that she unfortunately had the better of her. We could see that probably it was something like a pressure, or she wanted to face more balls, or was it the crowd? We don't know what happened, but that run out was completely bizarre, and maybe that could have led to England's downfall. All right, if we can take up the next question now. Pratibha Jain has a question for us. The Who stepped on the big day after poor league stage outings. As a whole, the attack looked so fine yesterday and brilliantly took the game deep, defending a low total. A huge positive, this, in my opinion. Absolutely. I feel, yes, Pratibha, you are right that Leah Tahuhu, we all know that she is a class act. I think she has more than 60 T20 eyes to her name. She has been around with the White Ferns for close to a decade or more than that. And she has been one of the leaders in their pace bowling attack. and I think she came out good in the semi-final that we saw against Australia. I think maybe any more inputs that you would like to add, Neha, to this?
Right. I mean, just adding on to your point, Leah Tahu is an experienced campaigner, right? She's played for the White Ferns for so long. And for me, before the tournament, I kind of pegged her as my dark horse because I knew she had a point to make, considering she was omitted from the contracts, which I still find ridiculous. But she really did have to make a statement. And this Commonwealth Games, I know she did have like a few poor outings in the league stages, but the way she's made a comeback, I know even she's contributed with the bat, which really goes to show that she's a valuable asset, right? And for the White Ferns that's going through this transition period, you need more seniors, you need more veterans to be there so you can guide the youngsters who are just, getting used to how it is to play at the international level. So I think, yeah, the way New Zealand did, fight back in that match yesterday was impressive. But, Australia, right? They are just such a strong unit. Their batting is very deep, which might hurt India today as well. But really, impressed with Leah Tahu.
Absolutely. So I think we were talking about the New Zealand game, not to forget the three dropped catches and one missed stumping that they had when they were playing against
Yeah.
Australia. So imagine if that would have gone in New Zealand's favor, we could have been seeing India versus New Zealand in the finals of the Commonwealth Games. All right, so if they are able to correct those mistakes in today's match against England, maybe they can have the better of the hosts today. All right, if we can take up the next question. Raj Bali is asking us England unbeaten in league stage games and a heartbreaking defeat versus India. What went wrong? Big day nerves and Neha, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, I mean, England has been unbeaten in the league stage games because, again, if you have a look at their group, they were pegged with South Africa, who they had already defeated in the previous series. They were with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is, again, having a tough time, not having played that many international matches. And they were in a group that had New Zealand, which was probably the only team that actually gave them competition. But coming to the semi-finals, that's when they really got taste of a good competitor in the form of India. Now, the head-to-head record was obviously in favor of England, so they thought maybe this was just going to be another easy win because everyone around, right, were pegging them to be the winners. But I think, yeah, it was a big day. There were obviously a lot of nerves. They're playing at their home ground, in front of their home crowd. And I think that pressure really did get the better of them because in the run chase, they never looked that comfortable, except that, power play or the fact that Nat Silver and Amy Jones were stitching that partnership that could literally take the game away from India. But the rest of the time, I think they were just playing catch up to India, right? So I think it was the big day nerves. But today, considering they have nothing to lose and this is a bronze medal match that they really need to salvage their pride with, I think we'll see a much better showing.
Interesting. Great. Thanks for answering this one, Neha. Okay, if we can take up the next question now. Right, Netha Chaudhary has a question for us. Leah Tahuhu has not been granted a contract. She deserves one. She deserves a permanent place in that White Fern squad. Your thoughts, Neha? I think you were talking about this just moments ago.
Exactly. I'm a firm believer that, the contract system has to be fair and you have to like rationally think it out, right? So Leah Tahu not being granted a contract was just ridiculous. It was just very surprising. Besides that, even Amy Satterthwaite didn't get the contract and that kind of propelled her to retirement, which was again very unfortunate to see. But Leah Tahu has been a class act for such a long time, right? Even in that home World Cup, she was so good. And through these years, we've seen how she's transitioned as a player and we've seen her play in leagues around the world too. So we know that she is such a good bowler. But New Zealand cricket's intention of not giving her the contract is really surprising. But considering how well she's played in this Commonwealth Games, I am, interested to see how New Zealand cricket decides to go about this. Do they hand her a contract again, or do they just take her series by series? Because I think New Zealand cricket is one of the most forward-thinking and progressive cricketing bodies, right? They have an equal pay scale for the men and women cricketers, and they are known to be flexible as well with their legislation. So it will be interesting to see if Leah Tahu does get her contract back because she is a very good player. She has a young family, and it is important that you support your players in all possible way. I mean, we'll still see her in domestic cricket, but seeing her wear the New Zealand jersey is just a whole another feeling, right? So I do hope that they rethink this move, but she's really making a statement this Commonwealth Games.
Certainly. Leah Tahuhu has been impressive, and let us hope, as Neha, you are saying, that maybe New Zealand cricket goes ahead and gives her the contract of the international level, and let us hope she playing more for the White Ferns in the coming years. All right. Okay, we can have the next question. Okay, Linda James is asking us, Limelight being away from Freya Kemp, has that helped her perform this well and consistent? Alice Capsey rightly has been enjoying all the limelight and has stood up to everyone's expectations. Ania, again, if you would like to answer this.
Yeah, sure. And you can also add on. I
Yes,
feel that Freya Kemp and Alice Capsey are 17-year-olds. Both are performing really well, but it's always cricket's obsession with batters, right? You always just tend to watch out for their progress and not the bowlers as much. But I think limelight being away from Freya Kemp has definitely helped her, right? Because that means there is no additional eyes on her every time she steps out. And I think in the game versus India, she's really good, right? The left arm seam with the new ball, I think she's brilliant. And in fact, today, if Catherine Brunt and Freya Kemp can bowl from either ends, it would be really fascinating to see as well. And yeah, I mean, Alice Capsey has been enjoying the limelight because we've seen her right from the 100, and she has been really good, a clutch player in crucial match situations. We've seen her step up and just make the most of all the opportunities that is given to her. So I think England at the moment is looking like a unit that has a fine blend of youth and experience, and they're just going to become another very interesting team to watch, in the coming few years, that can actually challenge the likes of Australia or say in India. And yeah, exciting times ahead.
absolutely. So certainly, I just to add to what you said, Neha, I feel that limelight has gone to Alice Capsey because she has replaced Heather Knight and she has big boots to fill. So probably everybody is looking at who is Heather Knight
Yeah.
going to be replaced by, and that is Alice Capsey. So all eyes are on her. And fortunately for Freya Kemp, that has not been the case. She has not replaced anybody, though there were talks that probably Tash Farrant was injured or was not considered for this Commonwealth Games, and England have found another left-arm seamer in Freya Kemp. But again, then she was not replacing somebody as big as a stature of Heather Knight. So probably limelight was more towards Elise Capsey. But given all these things, I feel both these 17-year-olds, Neha, as you have pointed out their age, I feel they've performed exceptionally well at the highest level. Playing a multi-nation tournament as their debut international matches has been great to watch, and the kind of pressure that they have been able to absorb from their home conditions, because home conditions can go either way, right? They can sometimes help you, but they can sometimes be your enemy also, because people expect so much out of you. But though both these teenagers, they have performed exceptionally well, and let us hope that they put up a good show, which is the final match of the Commonwealth Games for the England team today. All right, I think we have one last question from a fan, if we can take that up. Okay, Vedant Maheshwari is asking us, great to see Amelia Kerr back amongst runs, but Susie Bates' wicket led to the loss against Australia. If both the Smash sisters score, England should be ready to suffer another defeat. Okay, maybe I'll just have a go at this, and maybe we can hear your thoughts also, Neha, on this. Absolutely, Vedant, I agree that if Smash sisters, those of you who don't know who Smash sisters are, it is Sophie Devine and Susie Bates. So if they get going, we know what damage they can cause. They are, I think, one of the best opening pair in the world of women's cricket. Though we have Elisa Healy and Beth Mooney in Australia, but if you ask me, I think the Smash sisters are arguably the best opening pair in women's cricket. And if we remember the first match against South Africa, they stitched a 99-run partnership. They just took the South African attack to cleaners. We know that South Africa have a good bowling attack, but then these Smash sisters were able to hit them all round the park. So yes, probably Smash sisters, they are up and running today again. I'm sure that the England bowlers could have a tough time, and maybe the England batters would have a stiff target to chase. And yes, again, Amelia Kerr coming back to runs, that is a good side for White Ferns, because I think early in the conversation we just spoke that Amelia Kerr returned to her normal batting position of number four. She has been batting at number four for quite some time, and Amy Satterthwaite used to bat at number three, and then she scored that 40 against Australia. So it was good to see her back in the runs, and I think she has also picked up four wickets. So probably that would just add on to her confidence. So it usually happens that when an all-rounder tends to perform with either the bat or the ball, that reflects on the other ability as well. So let us hope that Amelia Kerr is again able to contribute with both bat and ball going against England today. So finally, Neha, your thoughts on this?
Right, I think Vedant does really bring in an interesting insight here, right? That Amelia Kerr is an impact player, and seeing her back amongst the runs was a really pleasing sight because she's had a tough time in 2021, taking a break off cricket to focus on her mental health. And even her return back has been kind of rocky, and then she got COVID before the Commonwealth Games. So there were a lot of doubts, if she can replicate the same performance she did, showing that promise as she did, as a 17-year-old. But it's, really fascinating to see how she's turned all of those critics around her into some really positive performances. And with respect to how Susie Bates' wicket led to that loss against Australia, I think the others really had to step to the fore, right? Because it's not just Susie Bates who's playing against the entire Australian team. You have the rest of the batting that really needs to step up, because there will be a time, right, for the White Ferns in the future where you may not have the likes of Susie Bates, or you may not have Sophie Devine. You need others to step up and fill in those big shoes, right? So even if the Smash sisters couldn't quite step it up, the others would have to, raise their hand and take that responsibility. So going ahead, I think the White Ferns will be looking to, get more youngsters to play responsible cricket. And if both the Smash sisters get going, I think England will have it tough, because they might have to, chase a very big total. But we have seen England and their performances in these type of knockout games too. They can, come out on the top. So I think all in all, it will be an interesting contest. But Julie, one last question I did want to ask you too is, if the skipper winning the toss, what do you think they should do? Should they bat first or should they bowl first?
So interesting, because we have been talking that New Zealand has not chased. So I'm sure Meg Lanning will have that thing in mind. But she'll also remember that she won the match chasing in the semi-final. So,
Yeah.
so it will be quite interesting whether she wins the toss and decides to do. But if you ask me, maybe I would like to win the toss and bat first, because it is a high pressure match, and always having runs on the board and then defending them is easier compared to chasing a stiff target. I think that is what led to the undoing of England in the first semi-final against India. That is what I feel. What do you think? What do you think the captain winning the toss should opt to do?
I personally think they should bat first, put an imposing total, because this is a do or die match, right? But I think England going in this match would probably want to bat first and try to put an imposing total on board, because they saw what happened in the India match, giving India, like India did bat first and put that total, and England really fell short. So I think in this match they would want to bat first. But from a New Zealand perspective, I think they would want to bowl first and chase, because I think they trust their batters to do the job of chasing, because batting first, they did have that rough match against England in the league group stage matches. So I think it will be interesting to see what the captain does. But I think bat first and putting an imposing total seems like the most rational thing to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, great. Thanks, Neha, for talking to us and previewing the match between England and New Zealand. This is the third place playoff match of the Commonwealth Games, and the winner of this match is going to grab the bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games. So the live action starts at 2:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The match will be played at Edgbaston in Birmingham, and all the fans can catch the live action on Sony Live app and Sony Sports Network. We'll be back again tonight at 8 p.m. to preview the finals of the Commonwealth Games. It is going to be played between India and Australia. So do join us for a conversation tonight at 8 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.
Thank you.